The biggest drop in the economy since independence. The Ministry of Economy forecasts a 32% decline in GDP by the end of the year. According to the joint assessment of the Ukrainian government, the European Commission and the World Bank, Ukraine needs at least $105 billion by 2024 to restore social, energy and transport infrastructure, support agriculture, purchase gas and clean up the territory after the war. And in the long term, about $244 billion more is needed to restore the sectors of the Ukrainian economy. Over the next 8-10 years, the level of investment should be increased to 30-35% of GDP, the Forbes writes. An effective way to stimulate investment could be the EU support in the form of joint investment funds and guarantees. To achieve quick and effective results, the government can focus on the needs of the priority sectors, primarily agriculture, metallurgy, as well as startups, in particular IT startups. The post-war reconstruction of Ukraine is actively discussed by the international community. The World Bank believes that Ukraine needs $600 billion to start this process. Where official Kyiv will take these funds, we will ask UkraineInvest Executive Director Serhiy Tsivkach. Hello and welcome.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being with us. So how realistic is to find international investments during the war in Ukraine?
Well, I think we have to separate two things, investment and financial support. Because we will need financial support from our partner countries, but I do think that key financial support should come from confiscated Russian money. State Russian money that can be found throughout the world, and money of Russian businesses that support Russian regime. Because what they did in Ukraine, it's unacceptable, and they have to pay for that at some point, and they will pay for that. We have seen already statements from Polish Prime Minister that money have to be confiscated, not just frozen. We have seen concrete steps from Canadian government and from US government, from our partners, towards this activity. This money will be used to restore our critical infrastructure, but we will also need private money. Private money will enable Ukraine to develop our economy to a new level, like 2.0 level, bring new technologies, bring new companies that will ensure access to regional and global supply chains of Ukrainian companies and their partners from throughout the world.
So this sum is quite possible to get?
It is possible. It will be hard work because we have to coordinate this activity with many countries throughout the world. But Ukraine is already effectively working with partners, and I'm positive that this will be possible. Probably we will not be talking about $600 billion in 2023. It will be a gradual financial support to rebuild Ukraine, and it will be done in accordance to a so-called new Marshall Plan for Ukraine. And that initiative will be definitely created and coordinated between Ukraine and key international partners.
How many companies that run business in Russia are ready to invest into Ukraine?
Well, we have seen more than 1,000 companies that stopped business in Russia. More than 200 companies stopped investment plans in Russia. We, as UkraineInvest, governments of Ukraine Investment Attraction and Support Office, we are in touch with all of them. So we have about tens of effective communications. We have seen company Kingspan is the Irish global company that was one of the first ones to leave Russia and one of the first ones to announce significant investments into Ukraine. They will invest more than $250 million. They will create more than 1,000 jobs in Ukraine, and they will build a number of highly technological campuses to produce construction materials in Ukraine.
So we've separated the financial support and investing into Ukraine. Can you name any companies who are ready to invest into Ukraine during the war?
Well, I just mentioned Kingspan.
Yep.
They already announced, and we also support several projects in agri-machinery sector, in metalworking sector, in pharmaceutical sector as well. We have some requests, but we cannot announce them until there will be a solid decision on behalf of the company to do so. The companies send us daily like tens of requests to do business in Ukraine. Ukraine is a very strong brand now, probably not for the best reason, because we have war, but we have great respect from international business to Ukraine, and they are very much interested to do business in Ukraine and to start planning this. What is important is that any investment project can be separated into two stages. Stage one is it's a planning stage, and stage two, it's a practical implementation stage. So stage one can be done during the war easily. Companies can plan investment, they can obtain documents, licenses, permits to do business in Ukraine, and that takes time. So we advise businesses to start doing this now. Start your planning stage, because when the war will end, you will be the first one and the most ready one to start practical implementation of your project. And planning stage does not take so much money from you. So it could be literally 1 or 2% out of the total cost of the investment project. Because the most important part is when you need to go into a brick and mortar stage and to bring your equipment into Ukraine.
Which sectors of the Ukrainian economy are most in need of investment?
Well, every sector needs investment. It's regardless of whether you have war in the country or you don't have war. But when we talk about Ukraine, definitely sectors that will be needed for reconstruction of Ukraine are in most need. So, namely, agri-processing, logistics, construction materials, chemical sector, consumer sector, FMCG. These sectors will be the top priority for international investors.
Which part of Ukraine is more attractive for investing into Ukraine right now? Are we talking about just Western region?
Well, the whole Ukraine is attractive because Ukraine is different. If you go to one region, you can be focused on the specific sector of economy as machinery or metalworking, or the coal extraction. So then we talk about eastern regions mainly. When we talk about western regions, then you can do logistics, you can do other manufacturing, and mostly investors are now interested to explore opportunities in the west of Ukraine, simply because it's harder due to war conditions to do business in the eastern parts of Ukraine. Central Ukraine, also interesting for investors.
Thank you so much. And what successes can UkraineInvest be proud of in 2022, and what do you regret of? Is there something you've already planned but didn't manage to do?
Yeah, well, we are happy that we managed to attract significant investments into Ukraine. We also are so-called investment nannies, so we support investors according to the law on state support for investment projects. So at the moment, we have 5 projects that we aim to submit for state support by the end of this winter for amount of around $500 to $600 million. Also, we have another 11 projects for $2 billion in our pipeline. We are working with companies and looking for investments. And beginning 2020, we have managed to support attraction to Ukraine of $1.8 billion of US dollars. What we regret? We regret that the amount of investment or foreign direct investment in Ukraine is not as high as last year. Last year, it was a record-breaking figure. It was more than $6.4 billion US dollars. This year is just over $300 million US dollars. But we have obvious reasons. We have war. We have aggressor at our border. And we're still doing good as a country. So not any country during the war can say that it managed to attract foreign direct investment.
That's true. Thank you so much for being the guest of Spotlight Ukraine, and Happy New Year. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Latest news, trends, and analytics on all about Ukraine. Like, share, and subscribe. Any questions, proposals, and comments, contact us via email.